I'm gonna add this in the beginning of the video because I'm just remembering to say this. But when somebody says that they are struggling mentally with like a mental illness, it can affect anybody. I will put the statistics on the screen to back up what I'm saying because I'm not telling anybody any lies. When somebody says that to you, don't try to undervalue it by saying, you know, but you have X, Y, and Z, or boys are lining up at your door, or girls are lining up at your door, you know, you shouldn't have this problem. Mental illness is something like, oh my god, I'm getting mad. These things are not in people's control. You cannot just say to a person, calm down, and then calm down. A healthy person probably would get a bit annoyed, but say, you know, yeah, let me breathe, relax. It's harder for people to do, so I'm gonna put that there. I'm just gonna say that. Me, just gonna say that because in order for us to have this conversation, that needs to be said. Hey everyone, it's Amanda and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is, you know, when I was sitting right here, it's gonna get a bit serious. It's gonna be a bit deep. So today, no, not today. Yeah, so this month is mental health month, and I thought that, you know, a video that I've really been wanting to make for a long time, and you'll see me reference this in previous videos of mine. I've really wanted to, I guess, elaborate more on mental health and my advice and stuff I've gone through, because of course this channel has been A, about documenting my experiences, but B, helping you guys. So yeah, that's what we're doing today, and I'm getting nervous already because, you know, it's just like, wow, everything's just gonna be, you know, I mean, it's not like I killed anybody or anything, but yeah. I have a list of things on my iPad that I have written down because I don't want to forget anything. So first things first is, why haven't I talked about this before? I don't know, I really haven't talked about it much because I kind of felt like I had to be at a really good place in my life. Not in terms of money and in terms of owning my own stuff, but kind of in a really good mental place. But you know, no time is ever gonna be the right time. You have to make it the right time. Right now is the time. Right now is the time. So as you guys can see, I really I don't like getting vulnerable, but it's something that I'm working on. So yeah, because it's just, I can feel myself getting emotional already, so bear with me. So before I start, it is necessary for me to give a trigger warning. I will be speaking about anxiety, depression, mental health, like really serious stuff. So if you are at a place right now where you feel like you cannot consume that, or you feel like it might be too overwhelming for you, please just take care of yourself. Don't feel the need to watch this video or feel like you're missing out because you didn't watch it. It's fine. All the best. That's it. You guys also might hear a lot of fillers in this video if I don't edit them out, so yeah. So if you guys have watched a couple of my videos, or the most recent videos, especially the how I started versus how I'm going, yeah, that's the title of the video, you'll kind of get a general idea of who I am already. I'm pretty bubbly, creative, and ambitious, and I always thought that was a good thing. I still think it's a good thing, but because of the type of person that I am, I also really like to plan, and I didn't realize it when I was smaller, but as I've grown up and continue to grow, I realized that my planning is controlled by me being a perfectionist, and if I'm not careful, it will cause a lot of bad things to happen. So I will get into that, but the story first starts at a small young Amanda at age like, let's say like 10. You can start it at 10. Honestly, this is to my recollection. It might have started before, I don't know. I used to dance, miss it so much, really miss it, and I was doing that since I was like 4. So this is not something that was new. Let's keep in mind this is from the perspective of 10-year-old Amanda. So I'm used to this dancing routine already and everything like that, but as the years went on and as I got into high school, I kind of started realizing that, you know, when I used to rush and get ready for dancing in the car and stuff like that, I just kind of used to get this heavy feeling in my chest, and then I used to start sweating on the way. By the time I used to get to dancing, sometimes I literally have to sit out 15 to 30 minutes of the class because I felt sick to my stomach. And it started happening when I had dancing on a weekend. Now, I remember all of this vividly, you know, because it was traumatizing to me. And as a little kid, getting sick all the time when they reach class, when they're really just supposed to be having fun and dancing and running up and down with them friend them, I just didn't feel good in myself. So, you know, so it caused all of this unnecessary attention. And let's keep in mind, little girls are just, you know, I love everybody that I went to ballet with, not even exaggerating, but yeah, I mean, who wouldn't feel affected by that, you know? So over time, this kind of became like a snowball effect. I didn't really realize that it was related to this planning thing in the background, or that a connection was eventually made to having a certain level of control. But yeah, I used to get clammy, dizzy, all of that, and I was just like, what is going on? So eventually it started to take over so much that I just said, yo, mommy, I'm not feel good. I don't know, something is wrong. And my mom and my dad care very much about their children. So when I said that, now, like, she took me to the doctor, of course, and the doctor is there, and she's like, yo, this is me at 13 now. She's like, Amanda, you know, what's going on? She goes through the whole checkup, and then she starts asking me, you know, if I've been worrying recently. I knew where this conversation was going. Why? Because I was one of those kids that used to binge watch Zoella like there was no other. And everybody knows Zoe Sugg, who I still watch to this day actually, kinda was that one YouTuber that used to open up about mental health. So I knew that it was a thing, I just didn't know that it was gonna be something that affected me. So yeah, I go to the pediatrician and she said, boy, Amanda, I think you might have anxiety. I'm like, huh? Huh? I'm getting anxious about the fact that she's saying that I might be anxious. So yeah, she was just like, yeah, I think you should go to a therapist and whatnot. And I kind of talked to my parents about it, of course, because I was really concerned. And I guess to a lot of people that may seem daunting, especially at an early age, but you have to do what you have to do at the end of the day. God bless my parents every single time. I love them so much to the moon and back, would do anything for them, would bend over backwards for them, even though I'm kind of lazy. So yeah, I was 13 when I went to my first therapist appointment. And if I'm being honest, I did feel insecure about going to it. And I knew I shouldn't have felt insecure. As I said, like, I had these views from a long time. It wasn't a new thing to me. But because I knew how Jamaicans thought of therapy and what people would probably say if they found out at that age, like right now I could have said it and not care, but you know, when you're growing up and them things there, everything just seems so scary and everything seems kind of unsure and you feel insecure and all of those things. So I'm never bother say a word to nobody other than like my two best friends at the time. Some of the people closest to me are probably finding out about this now, and it's not because I've been trying to hide it. It's just like I just didn't pop Pandora's box right away when it happened, and so I don't know who I told from, who I didn't tell. So yeah, that's the first thing I'd say. You know, if you're kind of feeling this way in specific situations, then definitely try to see one or talk to a friend or talk to a mentor. If you went to camp and you had a camp counselor that, you know, you really looked up to and stuff, talk to them about it. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your parents or your godparents or anybody in your close family. Why does my camera always shut off at the wrong time? Okay, I'm back, people. So I hope I'm in focus because I'm not filming this again. Anyway, yeah, so back to the story. I guess I went to therapy for about 3 years following the first time. I think it was more consistent at the beginning. Like, let me explain how it works. So the first meeting is like a consultation, and basically you go there and you talk about yourself and what you like, what you don't like, you know, it's a basic conversation and kind of introducing yourself and stuff. And honestly, my first hand review about it, I'm a person that likes to talk. And since I know you're legally obliged not to say anything, and you can't really make too much judgments unless you actually think that the person is gonna harm themselves, then you're good. So I really did feel like it was a safe space. You talk about yourself, you talk about your problems, who you like, who you don't like, you know, what you're currently experiencing and why you think you're there. And I guess from there they kind of determine how your treatment goes. So after my first appointment, I wish I kept like a diary of all these things. Like I do have journals and everything, but a proper description of each appointment. And I'd highly recommend that for anybody that does go to therapy, because it should help you track your growth and stuff, although they should have a record of you, to be honest. Right, so the first meeting, and basically just assess who you are and what you could be suffering from. So they definitely confirmed that I was yeah, I definitely had anxiety. So with me, I didn't really know what my triggers were at the time, but as I kept going to the therapist and as I kept practicing behavioral therapy, so basically they kind of teach you using that method how to not control yourself but be aware of moments when you might be more anxious or might anticipate something, and they start teaching you healthier methods of coping with that or preventing it from getting really bad, because that for some people I would say is possible. For me, it's possible to kind of determine when I'm gonna kind of be triggered by something. For example, every single time I'm driven down a certain road, like one of the roads on the route to dancing as a child, like once I get on that road I immediately start feeling anxious even though I don't dance anymore. So I know that before I leave the house I need to have a bottle of water and sip the water and butt the AC while I'm going down the road, literally, because I will start panicking no matter where I'm going. As long as I'm crossing that border, something going to happen, right? So, well, something doesn't always happen, but if I am not distracted enough. So throughout these years of going now, I don't know, I'm very introspective naturally. I didn't start journaling when I went to therapy. I started from way before because I just liked writing. But over time I kind of realized that, you know, my anxiety is kind of triggered by well, first of all, it changes for me, or it changed for me. So it was starting with the fear of the unknown, and then it went into kind of the fear of not being a good person or not doing well enough or not meeting my potential. And so how the first part of that worked, because I guess it's a whole trifecta, is that like once there was something unknown to me, I really wouldn't like it. I would get anxious about it. If there was some big experience that I was supposed to be having sometime soon and I never knew anything about it, I'd get really anxious and everything like that. However, I would say my anxiety wasn't really that bad. After the first year of therapy, like it kind of did calm down. As I said, I was really practicing these things that I was taught and it got really good. I remember as I discovered more creative avenues, as I started my photography page, as I started graphic design, as I went on YouTube, like everything kind of started feeling a bit better. So I don't really know if it's my connection to creativity is kind of, it's like when I don't get to express myself or when I feel limited is when I start getting really worried. So even with filming videos, once I don't film my video for a while, I start getting anxious because I'm just like, I have thoughts. But yeah, so right, so that's the first thing that it was like just being unsure. And as I got to be kind of okay with the unsurety, because your girls are planning, say, yo, life unsure, but I'm sure of what I can do. So that was never the issue. But you see, when you're sure of what you can do, it's about the perfectionism now, because you're just like, I gotta make sure I do what I want to do. So I'm here thinking, my big thing was the goal of getting into college and leaving the country because I knew I wanted to do film, I knew I wanted to do arts, and I wanted to do it on a large scale, and I wanted to travel, and I wanted to have the means to do everything I wanted to do in my life. So, and my opinion of that still stands. So I was really just like, gotta get the bag, gotta get the bag, gotta get the bag, gotta get the blah, 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 blah. That is literally how my mouth sounded a while ago. Was not because of the braces. I'm saying that's how my brain felt. Right, so I was on overdrive all the time. I made countless videos and it was literally because I just needed to get that sense of control over my life. I don't like the idea. I still don't like the idea of things doing this, but I didn't like the idea of something random just coming into my way and just plowing down all of the work that I've done and, you know, beating me back to square one. I was like, no, that's not an option for me. So I study, right? And of course I was getting the grades, but everybody that went to school with me knows I was coming to school sleep deprived from early on. I was doing it at times where I never even needed to do that. Like, who in grade 9 really needs to be staying up until 3 a.m. doing work? Like, girl, go to bed or watch Netflix, but don't stay up and do all of that if it's totally unnecessary. Like, you still have the time to change a few things at that point. And that's one of the things that I'm not really regretful of, but wary of, because I don't really want to live my life like that going forward. But I'll save the lessons, or some of the lessons, for the end. Right, so the perfectionism started taking over after a certain point. I remember during C-Sec, I was just really stressed out and everything, and you know, life was okay though at the same time, because we had all these sweet 16s going on, and I was partying every weekend for a while, and it did feel good. And once I have a release, I realized that it works. So once there was a fete to go to, once there was a hangout spot or something like that, you know, everything would be fine. So like, even though my anxiety went yay high, I was able to kind of not keep it in control, but like let it out and then go back to what I was doing. Not saying that that was the fix though, let's keep in mind. I think it was just like a band-aid on this open wound that needed stitches, if I'm being honest, and I'll get into it too. Age 16, everything is fine, do my exams, everything is good, go prom, everything nice. That summer, best summer of my entire life, because I have not had a summer since then. So the grand finale. In lower 6, which is grade 12 for you guys that don't really know what 6 form is, was when things started getting really bad for me. I remember every day I was walking into school and I was thinking of my future, because I'm like, God no, this is the year that decides everything, because this is the year I'm supposed to go out with or these are the next 2 years where I'm supposed to go out with a big bang. And I had the SAT and I was like, I cannot do anything to mess this up. So I go into stress mode. I am studying, I'm staying up all night, I'm doing all those things. Let's keep in mind, since I was 16, I stopped going to therapy at that time, and I started running myself into the ground, really and truly. And if you watch that video, how it started versus how it's going, I kind of elaborate on that a little, because the creative side of me was kind of feeling stifled during the time where I was preparing for the essay. And so you know me, I'm chatting up because I have to start the camera back 3 times. Anyway, let's get comfortable again. So yeah, so there was a connection between the creative side of me and I guess the academic side of me, and the side of me that just is going for these goals and everything like that. Things I loved doing eventually started kind of stressing me out as well, because I was applying for film school, which would mean that I needed to make a film, and my mind wasn't up to par with what I would have needed to know in order to like kind of get there. So at this point, I'm learning what I need to learn for CAPE, and it's this huge new syllabus. My grades weren't looking too nice in the beginning, especially with communication studies, God no. And at the same time, I was trying to learn more about film, and people think that you can't just eyeball something and you can't eyeball something. And what I mean to say, is film just like any other major that you want to do, has techniques that you want to learn. I mean, you don't necessarily need to go to school for it, but it's a whole profession, so there's stuff that you need to learn, and I got obsessed with the professionality of it. Now, if you're too ambitious and things like that happen and you kind of get carried away with that, while also trying to make sure your grades are grades and also trying to make sure that you're involved in all of these things, because your college resume has to look good and you have to be involved in this and involved in that. Worse if you have like personal obligations, responsibilities in the household, anything like that. And that's just a general thing that I'm saying. So once all of that combined for me, I really, it was one of the darkest places I've ever been. I'm not saying that I was like having suicidal thoughts or anything, because I wasn't, but where my head was, it was just like every day. I don't even know if I can describe it properly, but imagine living outside of yourself. Like, imagine me talking right now, or imagine talking to somebody, but you're watching your conversation from outside of your body. Like, you just don't feel like you're present. You feel like you're just a bystander and everything's just happening, and you know, you can't have any control over anything. And what happens right then and there is your body just starts feeling like, oh my god, what am I doing? What am I doing? Fight or flight, fight or flight. So your body is gonna respond. My initial response is always to fight. So if it was flight, it would have probably been something like sleeping or binge eating or something like that, but my response is much different. So my body starts working on overdrive, producing all this adrenaline. I start getting into a lot of detail. Or one of the things that I realized I started doing more, when I used to drink coffee, I would pace around the place for hours at a time, thinking alone. I'm watching movies in my head because I need to, you know, I need to write this script or something, so let me visualize it first, and da 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 da. And yes, it's true, you do need to visualize things, but this was an unhealthy level of visualization. Like, I was missing out on all of these things at the time because I was just not in a good mental space. I hate talking about these things sometimes, but yeah, it's necessary to talk about them. Yeah, that kept going until quarantine, until COVID happened, and I thought, I have a 2-week break. So I was like, yes, I can relax and whatever and spend the time I need to get back in the groove for SATs and school and whatnot. So the beginning of quarantine went great. March and April 2020 were good months because I thought I was going back to normal after, but we really weren't. So yeah, I really was just relaxing. When I tell you guys that like my body was just not having it with me, it was not. It really was not. By the time April came around, I was like, this ain't me. This isn't me. Because as you guys can see right now, I'm very bubbly. I really like moving around and like creating and stuff like that, and I hadn't created anything for a while, and so I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore because I was just this shell of myself, and I'm like, I'm not recognizing this person, and everything I'm writing in this journal is becoming more and more depressing, and I'm just like, yo, Jano, I think it's time to start going to the therapist again. And at the time, because it was quarantine, everybody started having that same issue, so it was hard to get an appointment too. But you know, God bless the circumstances that I was able to actually get the therapist at the time, and they were shocked because they're just like, yo, who is this girl? When I said quarantine took me for a spin, it took me for a spin. Of course, I did start my YouTube channel again, and of course, being disciplined in a creative way really is something that helps my anxiety, at least, and it's something that I enjoy. It's not just a band-aid, it's not just a quick fix, it's definitely something I want to do in my life, and it's definitely, I think, a way of helping people, so I do want to continue doing it. But it did help, and I realized that what I was really fearing and uncomfortable with was being alone with myself and nothing to do. What? So back to my story. I drank coffee today, you know. That's probably why I'm so energetic. Anyway, yeah, so I realized that I don't like being silent or bored, and it was because like half of it was to do with the fact that I felt like there would be too many thoughts in my mind, and the other half was just that I felt uncomfortable in my own company. And I realized that me being so busy and me being so obsessed with saying yes, I'm efficient, and yes, I'm productive. You see that word productivity? Be careful with it, because it can be a real drug because of that adrenaline rush that you get when you finish something and you finish it fast. So yeah, those used to be indicators for me that, you know, yeah, I can do this. I'm in control. That is exactly what productivity meant to me at the time. Productivity equals control. When I'm not busy, I'm not in control, or something like that. Or, you know, if it was like, if I wasn't doing anything, then anything could happen to me and I couldn't control any of the circumstances. So I didn't like that idea of my defenses kind of being not there. So when I was left at home alone with my family, and everybody's kind of alone in their own way because, you know, this quarantine thing, this curfew thing, being alone in your house for 2 months without seeing your friends and without like the regular social interaction that I used to enjoy, because of course I'm extroverted, and as I said previously, my way of releasing was in social settings. I'd go to a party, I'd visit a friend, something like that would really help me calm down. But as I said, it was a very temporary cure. So when I realized, say, oh, I can't go to XYZ house, I was like, I don't like the way this feels, and everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. I started getting nightmares, and when I say nightmares, I mean the ones that you'd wake up and feel sick from, like experiencing. Like I used to run to the toilet sometimes because I felt like I was going to throw up. So because I was having those nightmares, and it was really freaking me out, because the nightmares were really about all of the fears that I had surrounding my friends and family and loved ones. And I'm sure, as we all know, we don't like experiencing those things. So I was like, who needs sleep? Me not sleep and see that. So of course, being a very visual person, it's easy to just close my eyes and picture something right now. And so my nightmares, when accentuated, I am seeing people I love die. I am seeing myself in the dreams falling off of surfaces, or walking and all of a sudden there's no floor and I'm dropping and I'm falling. And if you've ever had one of those dreams where you're falling, it's a really bad feeling. Or a dream where you get shot, or like something bites you, like you wake up and you kind of feel it. That's what was happening to me. So I just said I didn't need to sleep. I'm not sleeping and seeing that. So as a result, insomnia. I was really exhausted, and then that, in addition to everything else going on in the world and with my loved ones, and not being able to see the people that I wanted to see, and kind of not being where I wanted to be, that displeasure and that discomfort led to a lot of issues for me. Yeah, I don't know where the tears used to come from, and I'm not really a person that cries a lot. Not because I don't want to let it out. I'm completely aware that crying is okay. It's just that naturally my response for certain things is laughing. Or if I'm like watching something really sad, or if something really bad happens, then I cry. But for the most part, I tend to get into problem solving mode easily. So it's not really, I don't get into much depressing or self-deprecating states. I wasn't sleeping, and then my appetite went. And if you know me, you know that I love food. You know that as skinny as I may look, I'm eating twice my weight in food. So the appetite went. I was barely eating. I was living on tea every day, and the caffeine was going. Eventually my body said, what you do? What are you doing? And I shut down. I shut down for weeks, and When I say I shut down, I mean I was just like sleeping. And that was like when the worst of it was over. And eventually having the therapist appointments did really help. God no, them did help. Them did really and truly help, which is why I'm such a strong advocate for it. I don't think that people can't live without therapy, but I think it really adds to your quality of life to go, especially when you don't really have people that are gonna help you much. And I'm not saying nobody in my life helps me much, because I love let me just say something about my friends. My friends are great friends. We get into fights and stuff, yeah, but that's human behavior. And my family is great too. My grandmother, love you. My grandfather, love you. My parents, if they're watching to this part of the video, thank you guys, I love you. They were all there for me, but they really did agree that it was best if I go to a therapist and stuff, because I like the idea of going to professionals. As I said, I didn't like the unknown at the time, and no one person knows everything. Some people study very specific things throughout their lives. I'd rather go to somebody that knows everything and can tell me everything. So yeah, it was really important that I had that understanding, but definitely really helped. It wasn't a straight way up. I think I was really well into the new school year. The healing pattern was not linear at all. That's something I definitely learned, but over time I was definitely able to bear the silence of being alone, and well, alone in the context of being in my parents' house, because obviously I'm still at home, but in terms of just not having people around me all the time and not getting to be the extroverted part of me all the time, I learned how to be alone. I'm quite proud of that, and it's in one of my videos too, because I've been documenting my life, except this part that you're now getting to know. But yeah, and now I'm at a space where I love my company. I have created these routines in my life that I cannot really live without. My skincare routine, for example, is less about the products than it is about the time that I spend with myself, making videos, really just doing mundane things and being present in those mundane things has really helped me, and kind of taking control of my time. One thing I'm practicing right now that a friend of mine has said to me is that I need to practice intentional breaks, and no one enough is enough. One thing I've definitely learned is the art of prioritization. And yeah, I mean, things aren't good all the time, guys, but right now I am pretty happy. I'm really happy, and I'm everywhere where I want to be. So yeah. Oh, and one last thing before I go, I have a quick announcement. As you guys know, mental health is something I'm extremely passionate about, and I've said this over multiple platforms many times, and it's long overdue for me to do something, or at least do what I feel is my part. And so I'm starting an initiative called Medz Your Mindset. So you guys can follow the Instagram page, look out for the stuff. We're gonna work on a lot of sharing information about mental illness and just taking care of yourself in general, and we're going to be sharing quite a few testimonials from men and women in Jamaica. So stay tuned. If you really need help, if you really want to know how other people are getting help or their experiences with getting help, then stay tuned, follow the page, and I'm so excited for you guys to see what we have planned. That's basically it for the video. I will make some other parts to it and stuff if you guys want, but thank you for all your support. Please leave nice comments, and if you don't, that's fine too. I'll delete them. And yeah, bye guys. Back again. This is gonna be a very long video. I'm excited for you guys to watch this one, really and truly, cause Jano, there's not much cutting up to do.